Clearly, we are living in a critical moment of change. Not only are we beginning the process of recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic, right, a once-in-a-century global health pandemic, but we're also finally confronting some of our country's deepest structural crises, from the injustices of systemic racism and voter suppression, which we've been talking about, to the need for immigration reform, and how to turn the corner on unnecessary gun violence, and of course the existential threat of climate change. There's so much that we need to act on, and we need to act boldly, and we need to act urgently. Inaction is not an option. And the American people know that we can't afford to wait any longer on so many of these priorities. That's the biggest reason why the country elected President Biden and Vice President Harris this last November. And that's why, as you mentioned earlier, we have majorities in both the House of Representatives and the United States Senate. So the way I see it, we have a once-in-a-generation opportunity to make real progress, big progress. And I believe we have a mandate from the American people to do so. But Senate Republicans are clinging to the filibuster in their ongoing attempt to obstruct progress and obstruct change. You gave several examples of how the House has already passed legislation to improve people's lives, from raising the minimum wage. The House passed the George Floyd Justice in Policing Act. The House has already passed bills that will provide a pathway to citizenship for Dreamers, for TPS holders, for farm workers. And you've acted on common sense gun safety reform. Another one that's very personal for me. The House has passed the For the People Act, which provides critical protections for our fundamental voting rights. Why that's being relitigated in the year 2021 is beyond me, but we are, and we must. All of these efforts, all of this common sense policy should be overwhelmingly bipartisan. In fact, they all do enjoy bipartisan support from the American people. But clear majorities of Americans know that we need to act urgently to stop climate change in particular. Americans also want common sense gun reform and the federal minimum wage to be increased to $15 an hour. The right to vote and to see your vote reflected in policy and in government is the bedrock of our democracy. But the Senate filibuster rule means that a majority isn't enough to pass any of this critical legislation. The filibuster is fundamentally undemocratic. It's a relic of white supremacy, and it was used not just repeatedly to block our country's progress toward equality in the Jim Crow era, it continues to have that impact to this very day. And this past year has shown that we can't afford to let justice wait any longer. Our communities can't wait. Our children can't wait. And we as a people cannot wait for change. Our agenda is too full and too urgent for Mitch McConnell just to want to give his blessing to any particular policy. We can't let any one person stand in the way of our democracy and our progress. So that's why I'm proud to be in this fight to end the filibuster. I always welcome Republican senators to weigh in on
legislation that helps the American people. You know, working on a bipartisan basis is always the preferred approach, but when they're not willing to genuinely engage, we can't afford to wait. We can't let our country's future be held hostage by a minority in the Senate. So as part of the Democratic majority in the Senate right now, I'm committed to delivering real progress to the American people. And I believe that by delivering on our promises, we'll maintain, if not strengthen, our majority. We'll earn the opportunity for continued majority and continued leadership. So I'm calling on all of my colleagues to end the filibuster and enable us to build a more just future for all. So to you, Congressmember Jayapal, and to everybody participating tonight, thank you for your advocacy and for your leadership in this critical fight. Together, we can and will make progress. In the meantime, continue to stay safe, everyone.